So you want to get started investing in the stock market, but you also want to educate yourself before just diving right in. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be going over 6 things you need to know before actually getting started. So let's get into it. The first thing you need to know is what is a stock and what is the stock market? Well, the stock market, how I like to explain it, is it's basically a digital marketplace. You can think of Amazon or one of the other big digital marketplaces where you can buy and sell things, but instead of buying and selling items, you're buying and selling stock. And stock is actually a piece of ownership in a company. So that means when you buy stock, you're actually becoming an owner of that company. So say for example, you like Nike and you buy the Nike stock, you go and buy a share of Nike stock. That means that you are technically an owner of the company, which I think is awesome. And I think it's really cool because even though it's a tiny fraction of the company, you're actually an owner. And I am so thankful for the stock market because before the stock market was even a thing, if people wanted to invest in a company, they actually had to go to those companies and basically say, hey, can I buy a piece of this company in return? I will exchange money, and in the future, you will give me more money so I can actually make money on my money, if that makes sense. I know that was a lot of things I was saying right there, but basically, it was a headache. And now it's all in a one digital marketplace. There's apps that you can go to, there's websites, there's all these different brokerages that you can actually go, you sign up, you link your bank account, you deposit money into it, and then in just a few clicks of a button, you're an owner. The second thing you need to know before actually diving into stocks is realizing what investing is. Most people, when they think of investing, they think of Wolf of Wall Street, where you're buying and selling and you're trading and you're just making all this money really fast in a short term. But to me, that's not what investing is. That is actually trading. Investing to me is when you buy in periodically. You usually have a monthly or weekly or whatever it is contribution towards these investment accounts where it's always buying these ETFs, mutual funds, index funds, whatever it is that you actually are wanting to buy. And if you don't know what those are, I'll actually have a video right here explaining what mutual funds, index funds, and ETFs are. But basically, investing is when you buy it continuously, periodically, you just keep on contributing to where your investment accounts grow over the long term. You're in it for the long term. You're not in it for the short term. You're not buying and selling every single day. You're just buying and contributing more and more so that that snowball can roll down the hill and actually get very big and very large for your future down the road. Most people that actually just get into the markets to trade, they actually are the ones that lose a lot of money because they try to time the market, and timing the market is very, very difficult. You just never know what's going to happen. You never know what kind of news is actually going to happen that can actually tank the market and drive it down, making you to where mentally you're thinking, I need to sell and get out so I don't lose all my money. But if you were just investing every single week, every single month, every single day, whatever that investment schedule is for you, no matter if it goes up or down, over the long run, you're going to get this return, just constant return. And that's what you're looking for when you're investing is a long-term return so that your investment account can grow. So tip number 2, know the difference between investing and trading. And if you're here to invest, know that it is long-term. If it's short-term, there's a lot more risk, and I don't even consider that investing. I consider that trade. The third thing you need to know before you start investing is what types of companies and what companies can you actually invest in. This is the fun part for me because before I even started investing, I really didn't know the difference between what the public companies were and the private companies. I didn't really know that. So a private company is basically a company that doesn't give stocks. They're not publicly traded on an exchange, and it's private to the company. But when a company goes public, that is when you can actually buy and sell their stocks. And so, for example, if you're wanting to know if a company is public, you can just do a quick Google search, say, is Nike public? If it pops up and it says it's public and here's the ticker symbol on the stock exchange, then it's public. But for me, it's fun because you don't realize every single company that you can actually buy into until you sit down and actually think of your daily routine and list the companies that you actually use every single day. I'm gonna walk you through just this daily routine and all the companies that you can actually invest in. So say you wake up, you go to your sink and you brush your teeth. Well, you can invest in Colgate. So if you're like, hey, I think I like Colgate, I think that the future looks bright for Colgate, I can invest in that. And say you're going into the office and it's a casual Friday, so you can wear a Nike polo. Okay, put your Nike polo on. Guess what? Nike's a public company. And it's kind of cold out, so you put on your North Face jacket. North Face is a public company. But on the way to work, you get in your Chevy or your Ford, whatever car it is that you have, a Chevy or a Ford like GMC or, the Ford company, then you can buy those stocks and you get coffee. Well, there's Starbucks, there's Dutch Bros, there's Black Rifle Company. All these different companies are publicly traded companies that you can actually invest in. Now you want to go eat at Taco Bell. Well, you can invest in the Yum brands. So you see where I'm going with this. There are all these different companies you can actually invest in, which I think is cool because you're using the products every day anyways. And so by investing, now that company that you're actually buying products from is going to give you money in return for investing now. So it's a really cool thing in my head that, hey, I'm technically an owner of Colgate. Awesome. Here's my toothpaste. I technically am an owner of this company. Or, yeah, I'm drinking this Starbucks cup, this coffee. Hey, I'm actually part owner of this building. That's cool to me because people don't think of it that way, but it really is. And so by knowing what companies are publicly traded and where you can find those and just going through your everyday life, you can see the impact that those brands, those companies actually have on your daily lives. And being a good investor is knowing the brands, knowing the companies that you're investing in. And so to me, by being a consumer of those companies already, you should already have a better feeling about what those companies are doing with their values, how they're growing, because you want to know those things anyways. And so by being a consumer, now you actually have a head start on understanding what those companies are doing and the values they stand for. The fourth thing you need to know before getting started investing is that it's exactly the opposite of what I said. So you have public companies, and then I already hit on it a little bit, but there's also private companies. So you're not going to be able to invest in every single company that you think of. For example, you can't go invest in Coke. And I'm not talking about Coca-Cola, I'm talking about Koch Industries with a K-O-C-H. You can't go invest in Deloitte. You can't go invest in Cargill. These are private companies. I've worked for private companies, and some private companies, they do have stocks or shares in their company, but usually those are for employees, VPs, and higher ups. So you have to understand that not every company is public, but you can do a quick Google search and you'll find that out. The fifth thing you need to do before starting investing in a specific company is going to be, after you find out they are public, and maybe it's because you're a consumer, take a deeper dive, do some research, and Google about the company. You can look at their financial reports, you can look at news articles, you can go to websites like Morningstar where it's actually one page that has all financial reports and statements all on a single page, so you can actually go through there and see what that actually looks like for the company. If you believe you still like the company, maybe do even a little bit deeper dive so that you know that you are for sure and you're feeling that you need to invest in this company or really want to. You have that conviction of actually wanting to invest in this company because you see bright things. A rule of thumb for me is if I actually feel a conviction on whether or not I should invest in a company, usually I do. It's not always, because sometimes I have second thoughts, but normally I do because I've done research. I feel like there's good things happening for the company. Their future looks very bright. Historically, there's growth. They have all these different things that I'm saying, yep, check, yep, check, yep, check. And most of the time, if I have that conviction, I go for it. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out. I've had times where I invest in a company, doesn't work out. Guess what? I learn from that and I move on and I invest in another company and I invest in another company. And sometimes I don't sell those stocks even if they go down because I'm investing long term. Just because I see the stock go down periodically, maybe for a couple months or a couple years, doesn't mean it's not gonna just bounce back and have historical growth and maybe be some of the best stocks you can invest in a single year. And so what I'm saying is make sure you do research before you just put money towards a company, because you never know what's actually happening until you take a deeper dive. Do your own research. Don't just listen to people and say, hey, that's a good buy, because they're not always right either. And if they're doing it for free, then usually they're not right. So make sure you're researching and Googling these companies and doing a diver research analysis on these companies before you just dump a bunch of money and saying, hey, this is a good company because I like it. So the sixth thing that you need to do before investing is now get comfortable with going and looking at quarterly reports. Go and looking at these financial reports. So you know you want to invest in a company. You've seen information on Morningstar. Now let's go to the SEC.gov and let's look at their 10K reports. Search the company, look at their 10K, look at their quarterly reports, look at their annual reports. If you still like the company, that's when you dive in. That's when you actually jump in and you have that conviction to actually go and invest in that company. Another great way to actually see how the company is doing and what the future looks like is, you went to the SEC.gov, you looked at quarterly reports, you looked at all these things, but you can actually go to public companies' quarterly earnings calls, which is usually just like a big Zoom session where you have the CEO and all these higher ups, maybe some board members. You have all these people that are in one location answering questions. They'll give you a report. Maybe they'll tell you about an acquisition they had. Maybe they'll tell you what the future looks like, what they're doing, and then they just open it up for Q&A. And so the average investor like myself can actually go and ask questions. Maybe it's to GMC or Ford, and I'm like, hey, how are you going to bring back manufacturing to the United States so you can get more profits in the company, resulting in bigger dividends or something like that? You understand what I'm saying? It basically gives you the freedom to actually ask these questions, these concerns, whatever it is in your head, to the higher ups, to the people that are actually running the company, so that you can get an honest answer. And then you might feel conviction, or you might feel, yes, I'm certain I want this company. I want to invest in this company. Maybe it's just a simple answer from the CEO, or maybe it's how he answers something, or someone asks a question and you're just listening to it, or the way that he speaks about the future, his excitement, all these different things. But you get to see it firsthand, the emotions behind the CEO and how they handle certain questions. And so that could be enough to actually get you to want to invest. I'm Curtis Rylant, and if you like this video, like and subscribe for future posts just like this. I'm gonna have all kinds of videos about personal finance, investing, and just really getting financial freedom and building generational wealth. Drop down below, have you started investing, and what is the number one company that you do invest in? And if you haven't yet, what companies would you? So I went over that daily routine where I'm saying all these different companies. What companies would you invest in? And remember, guys, you can do all things through him that give you strength. Peace.